Oh, yes, that looks a good cup of tea. Yes, lovely. And how are you today, Mrs. Belmont?
I'm fine, thank you, Mr. Stenhouse, apart from my feet, that is. I'm having a bit of trouble with my feet, to tell you the truth.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You should see a doctor.
Oh, doctor won't help. My shoes are too small.
Ah, either that or your feet are too big. How much do I owe you?
40 pence.
Oh, yes. As much as that?
As much as that.
Do you have change for a £20 note?
No, Mr. Stenhouse, I do not have change for £20.
Oh, well, I'll let you have the 40p tomorrow.
Today?
Today. Yes, exactly. Today.
Which of you has been watering this plant? It's dead, look. Dead.
Wasn't me, Corinne.
Oh, it's not dead. Definitely not dead. Dying, yes. Dead, no.
You're such a brute, Prudip. I bet it was you. This was my favorite plant. I've told you before. These are my plants, and I'm the only one who's allowed to water them.
Well, Look, maybe I did give it a little water, but, well, I'm sorry. It looked very thirsty.
Well, sometimes you look thirsty, but I don't pour water all over you, do I?
Maybe it's not really very exciting being important. I mean, it must be quite boring just sitting around all day doing nothing. It must be very bad for the brain. Hello, Ted Stenhouse speaking. I'm afraid I'm very busy. What do you want? Hello? What? Oh, I'm afraid Billy's in Los Angeles at the moment. Can I take a message? Yes? Yes, I'll send him round to collect it as soon as possible. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, Ted. Sorry, I'm afraid the club won't accept you.
Oh, Corinne, what happened to your plant?
It's been murdered. Someone watered it.
Oh, that's awful. It wasn't me.
I know it wasn't you, Billy. You may be stupid, but you're not that stupid.
Thanks.
Has anyone seen my wallet?
Have you noticed that people who like plants don't seem to like people?
No. But I have noticed that people who like plants don't seem to like people who don't like plants.
Mrs. Taylor has several problems, and not knowing how to deal with them, has come to the Citizens Advice Bureau for help.
Come in. Hello. Hello. I believe I have an appointment. That's right. Mrs. Andrew. That's it, yes. Roger. Hello, sit down. How can I help you? Well, it's difficult, really, to know where to begin, but it's a couple of things that I'd like to ask your help on. The first thing is that my father died recently, and my mother's been left living on her own. As you must realise, she's quite elderly.
Well, if you'd like, I'll make an appointment and she can come in to see us and I'll help her fill out the forms.
Oh,
that'd be useful.
Yes, that would be very useful. Now, the second problem I have, which is a bit more serious and really isn't my problem, it's my daughter's problem. She's been married about 4 years. And she has one little boy of 3, and she's expecting another in 3 months' time. And her husband wants to leave her. He's found somebody else. She's quite happy for her husband to see the child, but yes. Not whenever he feels like it. She only wants him to come at specific times.
Has she told him that?
She has, and he says if he can't see him when he wants to, he'll take him away.
Well, he can't do that. I mean, reassure her that he can't. If they can't agree on the access, then they'll have to take that matter to court. Do you think they'll be able to agree at some stage?
Well, I don't know. It's all been such a shock to my husband and myself. We really don't know what to do. We didn't know that this was going on.
It's early days yet, though, isn't it, as far as the separation goes? Well, I'll have a look at our list of local solicitors and see if I can sort one out that will be sympathetic to this type of case.
What is the point of the Citizens Advice Bureau?
Well, I think we're here initially for a first step. People come to see us to see where they should go for further advice. Sometimes we can help them with their query and perhaps sometimes resolve the whole thing for them. But if not, then obviously we have to refer them on to somebody else. And for that, we need to know a lot about what's going on locally.
What sort of problems do people have when they come into you?
Oh, ranges. Someone may come in with something as simple as, who is my local councilman? Someone may come in having been unfairly dismissed. Someone may come in with benefit queries. A whole range of problems.
What's the most common problem you have to deal with?
Well, in this area, it's mainly benefits. After that, it's housing. There's a lot of bad housing in this part of London. People come in wanting help with repairs, for example. We can help deal with that.
When people come here, they must be worried or distressed. How do you deal with that?
We are given training on how to cope with people in that situation. When we first come into COB, we have to spend 6 months training, and then after that, so many days per year.
Are you funded by the government?
We're quite separate from the government, and we're quite separate from the local council. We get a small grant from government, and most bureaus get a large grant from their local authorities. But we do sort of appreciate our independence from these agencies.
How do you go about solving a person's problem?
Well, it could be something as simple as perhaps just giving them a leaflet, for example, one of the ones up here. Obviously, if someone can't read or they need a lot more help than that, then we would perhaps write for them, telephone other agencies for them. If that doesn't work, then we would help somebody take an agency to court, for example. We normally try first by negotiations and then just see how far along we can go. Sometimes we can resolve problems very quickly. Other times they're very lengthy, take 6, 7 months, depending on the type of query.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Citizens Advice Bureaus are already handling nearly 5 million inquiries a year. While unemployment and bad housing continue to be a fact of life, it seems certain that their work is going to become increasingly important to a large number of people.
I tell you, I left it on my desk. There. Someone's stolen it. Someone has stolen my wallet.
You can't be sure of that.
Well, where is it then? Has it flown out of the window?
Oh, I'd definitely have seen it if it had flown out of the window.
It might be more useful if you would look for it, Corinne.
I have looked for it. It isn't in this office.
Then it's been stolen. Has Billy been sitting at my desk again? He has. He has, hasn't he? I might have known it. And to think I trusted him.
Oh, really? I think that's most unfair of you. You ought not to make accusations like that.
I will not tolerate dishonesty in this office.
Prodip is right.
Well, thank you. Thank you all very much for your support.
But that's the most absurd thing I've ever heard, Ted. You can't call in the police.
I hate having to do it, Sarah, but it may be necessary. One has to draw a line somewhere, you know. Of course, I know I'm partly to blame. I've been far too kind to young Billy, and now look what happens.
You really ought not to say things like that. You've no evidence. No evidence at all.
You may think I'm being hard, Sarah, but I'm not. If the wallet is returned, then I shan't say anything more about it. Now, I can't be fairer than that, can I? Oh, don't look at me like that. I mean, what else can I do?
The Victoria and Albert Museum is one of the largest museums in the world, and it's certainly the largest museum in the United Kingdom. It's here to show the public, and that means not only British people, but people from everywhere in the world, the decorative arts of the whole of this earth.
How does the education department here organise its teaching and lecturing?
We try to teach every age group, right from the 5 or 6-year-olds right through to university students. And in this age range, we talk to the children in the galleries, and we talk to them about the collections of the museum, obviously, usually related to a particular period, related to the Tudor period, or the Georgian period, or the Victorian period in British art, and the other equivalent historical periods throughout the world. So that is what you should have seen as you approached the museum from Cromwell Road and came in the main entrance. Well, the main entrance wouldn't have been there. What you'd have had would have been lawns leading up through an arcade, and we're standing in the middle of the arcade at the moment, the connection between the two wings of that frontage there. That was all built in the 1860s, and as I said, it was built for the students of the schools of art which were attached to this building at that time. That facade is a sort of symbol of the way the museum was supposed to look, and a symbol of the Victorian intentions for a museum.
As a visitor, you just come in and you look around, whereas having an expert coming around sort of in the administration side of it, in the education, it was really interesting looking at it from his point of view.
You're a foundation student at art school?
Yes.
Have you found that this morning's visitors helped you decide which direction you might go in?
This morning I found very interesting, but I don't really think it has helped me in the way I want to go in. But it has made me look at things the way I hadn't been looking at things before. But I don't know yet if I'd like to go in the direction of taking up teaching in museums and things like that.
They built the museum here, and they had nowhere to refresh the people who came to visit it. So they built the first museum restaurant. So I said that the kitchens were outside the main restaurant, but here you actually took part in the cooking process. And your breakfast, because this was the grill room, the breakfast room, your breakfast was prepared in front of your eyes by a chef complete with white hat, etc. And you sat here and took your ease and your breakfast. The room itself is decorated to just such a great extent as the other rooms, but again in a rather different style. The other importance of this room is that the decoration was all done by students of the schools of design, which, as I said, were attached to this museum. And the special ladies' tile painting class was set up for them to create the seasons of the year and the months of the year in these panels around the wall. The students didn't actually do the basic design for the panels. They were done by Sir Edward Poynter, who was president of the Royal Academy at that time.
Do you know what you want to do in the future?
Well, I've already seriously considered about working in a museum, and it's been very helpful listening to somebody who already working in the profession.
Look at the metalwork in the middle there by a very famous metalwork designer of the 19th century, W.A.S. Benson, and compare that with some of the more elaborate centerpieces.
I've been here a few times before, and as you're wandering through and you just look at things, nothing really sinks in. But when you do have somebody who's explaining to you, you start wondering and thinking, oh yes, and so I've definitely enjoyed it.
Education was one of the prime factors in the founding of this museum. It was Prince Albert and Henry Cole who, in the middle of the 19th century, decided that it was necessary to have a collection of the world's decorative arts as a sort of teaching collection for students who wanted to become artists and designers in this country. The result was that they brought together the start of this collection, and we have here the accumulation of that collection over the next 100 years. And it was used as an educative means for the students to show them that art and to explain to them what was good art, what was good design, and how that design could affect the way that they were going to design for the future.
Now, let me get this straight. You left your wallet on your desk, right? You're absolutely sure about that?
I'm quite certain.
And you both saw Billy Barker sitting at Mr. Stenhouse's desk?
Yes.
Billy wouldn't steal anything. I don't know who gave you that idea.
We're dealing with facts here, not opinions.
Quite. Of course, I realize, officer, that there's no proof.
And what about you, madam?
Yes?
Were you alone in the office at any time during the period when the said wallet was on the desk?
No, I was not.
And did any other person enter, or could any other person have entered the office without you noticing?
No.
Perhaps a cleaner, one of the cleaners.
The cleaners come in at night.
Oh, yes, so they do. Look, officer, I do feel that... Well, what I mean is, you see, look, perhaps it's not necessary for you to... perhaps we can just forget the whole thing, don't you think?
I would be careful about saying things like that, sir, if I were you. That's what's called wasting police time. Quite serious, that.
Corinne, I've bought you some... Oh, what's happening? Has she been called in to investigate the death of your plant?
This gentleman says that his wallet has been stolen.
Well, lost, you know, disappeared.
You said stolen. Do you know anything about this?
Oh, Mr. Stenhouse, is this your wallet? I found it on the canteen floor. Very heavy, isn't it? Good afternoon, officer. Is Mr. Stenhouse in trouble with his parking meters again? Oh, dearie me. 40p today.
Next time you call the police in, sir, perhaps you could...
Yes, I know. I'm very sorry.
Well, I know what I'm going to do. Now for the real thing.
Just tell us what happened.
All right. I'd had dinner with Bernie Raystrick. We'd come into the foyer for some coffee. Gibbs had asked me to see him at 7:45. When I noticed that it was time to go, I left Bernie where he was and went up in the lift. The lift was empty apart from me. I remember it gave me the chance to check the money I brought with me. It had to be cash. Gibbs was in his room. I think I must have been the last of his visitors because the suitcase was empty apart from the cassettes for me. Anyway, I gave him the money, took the cassettes along to my room, came down and joined Bernie again.
Did you see his gun when you were in the room?
No, I did not see any gun.
And you're telling us that when you last saw Matthew Gibbs, he was alive and well and looking forward to his dinner?
Yes. I said, see you again in a fortnight. He said, okay. And that was the last I saw of him.
So there was time for somebody else to shoot him. After Lee left, and before the waiter arrived and found the body.
Not a lot.
You don't need a lot of time to shoot somebody.
Well, you need a minute or two if you're going to use your victim's gun to do it.
So what do you think?
What? Who did it?
Yes.
I still think it was one of those two.
Or both. In it together. Let's see Raystrick again. Try and get a bit more out of him.
Not again.
Again, yes. We want to know where you were and what you did between 8:15 and 8 o'clock.
At 7:45, I was in the lobby with Alec Lee. Then he left me to go up and keep his appointment with Gibbs.
So what did you do then?
I said something to some young lady who was sitting there. But she didn't seem very interested, so, well, I just stayed where I was and drank my coffee. Oh, yes. Then I left the lobby for a minute or two.
Oh? Why?
To make a phone call.
We can check on that, you know.
No, you can't. Because when I phoned, there was no answer. So anyway, by the time I got back, Alec had come down and was waiting for me.
What time was that?
Oh, before 8. I don't know.
Did anyone see you?
Anyone?
While you were making this phone call of yours?
I don't think so, no. So, I suppose I could have gone back inside and up the stairs as Alec was coming down in the lift, shot Gibbs, and then come back again, if that's what you mean.
Yes. That was what I meant.
You still think one of them did it?
Yes.
Which? For that matter, why?
Well, if Lee did it, it was for the money. I mean, Lee said he was the last one to collect the video cassettes, right?
Right.
So Gibbs must have had quite a lot of money on him when Lee went to see him.
And if Raystrick did it?
Well, we know he didn't need the money, but we also know that he and Gibbs didn't get on.
It's about all we do know.
I still don't understand how whoever did it managed to shoot Gibbs with his own gun.
No. No.
Anyhow, we don't have enough evidence to charge either Lee or Raystrick. We've told them not to leave the country, and that's about all we can do.
So it's time to go home, then?
It certainly is. Oh, I just want to have a word with the airport police first.
Do you want me?
No, you go on.
Good night, then.
Good night.
All right. Yes. Speaking. What? All right. Let Detective Constable Maxwell know, will you? Send a car for me right away. I'll be there in 15 minutes.
Morning, sir. Gate 7 departure lounge.
Right. Well, good morning, Mrs. Gibbs.
Good morning, Inspector.